Hello, everyone. Welcome to Liam's Lyceum. I'm your host, Liam, aka Himbar, and today I'm doing my weekly update. This is Liam's Leapings number 42, update for the 3rd of June, 2023. It's crazy to think we're already in June. Time moves so fast sometimes. But, anyways, this week I'm just going to go very quickly over some of the books I read. I forgot to grab one. I'm not going to go bother to grab it right now, but that was The Veiled Dragon. Before I forget, it is Veiled Dragon by Troy Denning. It is Forgotten Realms novels, feeling like reading a Forgotten Realms novel. And I didn't really enjoy the prequel to this one, that is Depart to Sea, also by Troy Denning. Um, I mean, I enjoyed it some, but it wasn't the greatest. But this one's much better, actually. I really like so far The Veiled Dragon. Um, And the opening scene actually inspired me to write a little short story, which is about 800 words. So that's another update as well, that I actually wrote a short story this week. It's been the first time since, and it is finished. I should probably go. I'll probably go through and read it. It's been the first time since um, late March, actually, when I finished a story. I wrote some in April, but I didn't finish anything, and then I didn't write really anything in May besides some poems. Um, Yeah, so that's good. Actually, I'm probably going to go through soon and go through my novella again because I got some feedback from some of the readers here, actually. So thank you to those people. Um, but I didn't ever hear back from the editor I contacted or the artist I contacted. I just kind of was like reaching out a little bit. So, well, the artist is someone I actually know, but I didn't hear back from either of them, which I thought was kind of odd. Uh, Though I sent out, it's actually kind of frustrating, which is ironic because I'll say this in a second. But it's frustrating that you send out emails to people and they don't respond. But I realize that some people send emails to me and I don't respond. So I guess I can understand. I try to be pretty proactive about responding. Anyways, some other stuff I read this week. I read Shane. I don't have a physical copy, so I'm going to mention that one as well. Shane by Jack Schaefer. I believe this is a small, most people probably call it novella. Probably is a novella, if I had to guess, but I don't know actually the word count there. But it is a Western. It's from 49, I think. I had to read it for class, but it was actually pretty decent. I don't read a lot of Westerns, but I enjoyed this one. Um, yeah, and then I watched some clips from the movie, and I didn't really vibe with the movie at all. I thought it was pretty poor. Um, but yeah, and then just from the stack over here, I read the intro, and then the first article in Old English Tradition, which is a fest schrift, I think is how you would say. Essays in honor of J.R. Hall. No relation there. But some great stuff. Yeah, my brother is now texting me about my Halo team getting um, well, getting wrecked, essentially. And it's true, it did happen. And then I can't remember if I mentioned this last week. Did I mention these? The Phoenix and the Interlingual Dimensions of Early English by Literary Culture by Alexandra Ryder. I feel like I did. Can't remember if those notes are old. And then also Raising the Roof by Thomas D. Hill, Charles D. Wright, and Thomas N. Hall. And then The Cathedral by Raymond Carver. I might have mentioned those last week. I can't remember. That's some of the story. That's some of the articles and then short story I read. But yeah, I'm reading this. I kind of thought it'd be fun to go through Old English Tradition. I just finished a class on codicology, and this has sections on poetics, Anglo-Saxon Christianity, Beowulf codicology, and then early Anglo-Saxon studies, which is all stuff I find interesting. So a lot of recognizable names as well in here. I didn't get back to the history of the Hobbit or Journal of English and Germanic Philology though. And I did start this. I'm very, very not far into it, but I thought I'd mention it. That is Soldiers of Paradise by Paul Park. I also got it this week. It's really odd so far. I mean, the back of the book says that it is about two men, renegades of the elite Starbridge ruling class, as they descend into the horrific lower depths of the phantasmagoric city of Charn. A prince and a doctor, two well-intentioned aristocrats, sparking rage and revolution in their wake, sowing the dangerous seeds of a profound and alien concept, freedom. Yeah, that just seems really interesting. I don't but I'm not seeing that at all actually so far. I don't see it. So I don't really know. This book is just odd. I'm in chapter 1. It's quite long. So I'm 18 pages in. I'm hoping to read more of this right before I go to bed. I don't know if I'll have time because I have to listen to a lecture after getting off here. Another book, again, actually, before I forget, that I don't have physically, that I did actually continue. I did not finish yet, Between Princesses and Other Jobs. That reminds me I need to do some final edits on my column and send that to Steve. And I need another. I'm actually applying for jobs. Speaking of other jobs, I'm applying for some jobs. So I'm trying to get some references for those applications as well. That's very interesting. I don't know. It'd be nice to get a decent job, if that makes sense. Yeah, just leave it at that. And then I read Hengist's Tale, or Hengist's, if you want to say. If camera doesn't, I don't know. I feel like my camera's looking weird right now. But Hengist's Tale by Jill Patton Walsh. I mentioned this last week. This is rather tragic, as the story of Hengist and Finn Folkvalding, and it is about the Battle of Finnsburg, as told in Beowulf, and the fragment, the Fight of Finnsburg. And I liked it. It's really short. Might as well give it a try if you can find a copy. They're a little harder to come by. And then I did read Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. This is also for class. I enjoyed this decently more than Pride and Prejudice, though. It's also rather short. But I enjoyed it. I don't have much to say about it, but I did enjoy it. I don't think I'll be doing a review for this one. And then a couple books I haven't really looked through much yet, is An Introduction to Old Octon. It actually is from the same company that has my Introduction to Old French I've had for a few years. I basically got this so I could read like canzos and other like songs by troubadours. Honestly, because I love it when I read fiction and I find like a quote from a troubadour. Most recently in the last story in Oldham Quarterly 3. And I was like, man, I need to be able to say this stuff. It looks like Octon's a little bit more phonetic, even than like Old French, the Languedoil languages, which, maybe are rather phonetic early on, but even later on, if you've seen my video on the Song of Roland, it's not completely phonetic. So, or at least it looks a little confusing based off how it actually sounds. This is much thicker than my Old French volume, which I'm not sure why that is. It's by a different author. Maybe it's just much more to say. And no one take offense here, but from my study of French, I find English a much more expressive language than French. That could just be because I'm not as good with my French as I am with English, of course. But yeah, anyways, that's my 2 cents. Yeah, so some interesting stuff here. I'm really busy with all my other readings. But yeah, so there's a couple in this series: An Introduction to Old Irish, An Introduction to Gothic Language, which might be pretty cool, An Introduction to Old French, the one I have, and then this one. So, and this has some readings in it as well that I would like to get to. So again, I would love to be able to share on Poetry Thursdays some old troubadour songs. And because I remember looking at once, it was Richard the Lionheart actually was a troubadour, if it doesn't work. And he has some songs you can find online, but everyone I found performing them sings them in French, in like modern French. They take the same words, they just pronounce it like it's modern French. I'm like, I don't even think that would sound like old French. It should sound like old Occitan. And so those videos are useless, basically. But you know what I mean? That's so frustrating when I want something authentic, and then you go on YouTube and you're just like, wow, this person's singing the song. I was like, oh, well, they're just saying it like it's French. So obviously these people are like, I hate to say it, kind of like wannabes, but they don't actually know what they're doing. And they're probably not even aware that they're saying it completely wrong. Anyways. And then there's Dungeons and Dragons magazine. I just rewatched this movie and I enjoyed it again. I did find Kim Mohan's name in the credits. I didn't see Greenwood, Gygax, or Arneson. I didn't see Greenwood, Gygax, or Arneson in the credits. And then real quick, one more book I got. It's just quite a large textbook, but it's actually rather cheap. At least this copy I found. It's Manuscript Studies. This goes along with my codicology I'd been doing, by Raymond Clemens and Timothy Graham. And there's actually a book back here that Timothy Graham edited, The Recovery of Old English Anglo-Saxon Studies in the 16th and 17th Centuries, which I think sounds really cool. Maybe I'll find that someday. But this has a lot of cool stuff, and it's actually really nice quality. So I'm surprised how cheap it was. Like, I thought I was going to get this some cruddy book, and I know this would have been really expensive if it had been one of my class textbooks, but it was really affordable. It has some awesome stuff in it. Codicology is the study of the codex, by the way, codices, right? And it's kind of, I wanted to go over to kind of coincide with my study of philology, right? Because it'd be cool if I could become a philologist, and then it'd be even cooler if someday I could study some of that stuff in the actual, codex, the manuscripts themselves. So I did read a little bit more of Britain After Rome. That's under all my notebooks right now, and a bunch of other stuff. But I kind of want to end this now. What have y'all been up to? That one story I wrote, I would like to get it published. I have no clue. It's flash fiction. Part of me is always just like, oh, I should just put it on my Patreon. I suck at advertising. Rather, I just haven't done it. So if anyone wants to read some stories, there's some on my Patreon. I've gotten very, very few, little amount of feedback, or rather, maybe specific feedback. Besides like, I liked it, it was good, or you can fix the parts, but like, I think the most I got was probably from my Whetstone flash fiction piece that came out in April. And then I had a few people who talked, specifically about the language, right? And so that's like, that's helpful, And again, thanks to everyone who has given me feedback before on some writing. This one though, I was kind of taking like some Germanic and then like Christian themes with a tale. But yeah, I don't know if it's any good. I need to go through it, and even then, I don't know if it's any good. But yeah, anyways, it's been Williams Lyceum. Stay good. I guess I'll catch you next time.